At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps.
About your movie, why I made a curator's pick of the Hollywood Fringe Festival. Community, heart,
Observations TFR, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. What's going on? Welcome to another great episode of Observations TFR, episode 74 on You Found the Spot. You Found the Spot. You see, my sister's wearing the black today. I'm wearing the black today. We've got our hats coming soon. She's going to show you the green. Of course, we have the mugs, right? And we are just doing our thing, right? On this 12th day of January 2021. And do we have a great show for you today? Smash the share button, smash the like button, tag at least 5 friends in this, let them know that we're on so that they can come in and get the information that we are dropping today. This is Tasty Tuesdays, and of course, we're going to bring another vegan dish. Each one of us are going to have a quick vegan recipe, but we would be remiss if we did not stay with the story of, it might be the decade, the story of the decade, the siege at the Capitol. We would be remiss if we didn't stay with that. So what is the title of the show today? The title of the show is today is A Shock to the Capitol Palate, right? A Shock to the Capitol Palate. White Avenger Revenge. White Avenger Revenge, right? White Avengers of Revenge. It's a bitter shock to the Capitol Palate. These white Avengers seeking revenge against their government due to should have been long ago gone thoughts of Southern state dominance, teased, flirted with, and still cultivated by members of the House and Senate and hopefuls who look to one day sit in Congress. What's up with some of the congresspersons coming down with the virus? Didn't they take the experimental agent? Is diet a main contributor to mind think? And how violent and hostile a person can get, like the invading hordes at the Capitol this past Wednesday. The phone lines are open, 213-943-3358, 213-943-3358. Once you get on the line, follow the instructions from Blog Talk, and if you want to speak and get in on the conversation, press 1 on the touch tone. Technology created by an American black woman. Touch the touch tone and we will be notified that you want to be on air. Other than that, we realize that you are just listening to the program. Before we go any further though, and you know that we have to do this, we have to introduce my co-host, my special co-host, my sister, Tanya M. Congress. How is your day going today?
Good morning, everybody. I'm glad to be here with the listening audience today. My day is okay. I'm always better when the sun is shining. It's partly sunny right now, so the sun is not all the way out. But of course, I have a bowl of grapefruit right here, and then I have a tea that's made with hibiscus flower and turmeric. All right, and that deals with joints and water retention. And it also has some ginger in it that also deals with joints. And of course, I have my cup of coffee here. But we've been talking about some things, and the things that we've been covering in the show. It doesn't just stop at the show with me. I think about this stuff all day long. It's really we need for you, like we told you what the phone number was to call in and chime in. We need you to start making it a point to let your voice be heard on different subject matters. If you don't get practice doing it, you're always going to be a spectator. So we want you to call in. We want you to chime in. If you can't call in, then communicate with us live time through the chat. We're on broadcasting live on YouTube. We're broadcasting live on Facebook, and so you can hit us up through chat live time, and we're watching the chat. How you doing this morning?
I am doing as well as can be expected. I have my pear, and I have my dark grapes and my cherries this morning as usual. Have my water, so we're ready to go. So look, people, What are we talking about today? Well, we already gave you what we're talking about, but you need to smash the share button, like button, tag people in it. Make sure that you connect with where you're at. Follow, share, like, subscribe to where you're at watching us right now. Okay, people. So let's get started where we usually get started to warm it up with some memes this morning, right? This one comes from Black is Too Beautiful, right? So let me bring this up. It says, things to start instead of a diet in the new year. Things to start instead of a diet in the new year, right? So let me bring this up so it'll be bigger for me so I can read some of these. Start a new hobby. Start a new journal. Start drinking more water. Start meditation for self-reflection. Invest in your community. Start a new book or podcast. That's right. For those who have started this new year with us, stay with us right here on the Spot Podcast. Hashtag You Found the Spot. This one is hashtag Observations TFR, but we have hashtag TFR Podcast Live. We have just movie reviews, and it goes on and on. Yes. And we have a new one coming up that I'm not going to mention quite yet. But get a new plant and watch both of you grow together. What's it say here? It says, start an online class, start therapy or support group. Write small mail to people you love. Hey, that's not bad. Get back into writing other than using the email. Get back to using snail mail, right? Okay, that's pretty good for Black is Too Beautiful. I give them that this morning. That's pretty good. Let's go on to the next. All right. So this is getting into mind thought, right? See, there's mind think, where that's more like, that's control. Mind think is control. Mind thought is, it is cognitive, and you are in your mind thinking without someone thinking for you and making you move. So mind think is someone thinking for you. Mind thought is you thinking for yourself. So let's bring this up. A lot of people have, a lot of American blacks in particular, you know, that's our main concern here, are like, hardy har. Donald Trump has been cut off from the internet. He is not on there. Now, Boyce Watkins, politics makes strange bedfellows. Boyce Watkins sounds the alarm like we've sounded the alarm a couple of weeks ago. He's sounding the alarm here. He says, this may be funny, but it is a little dangerous too. Take Trump out of it for a moment. A democracy must include freedom of speech. Imagine other leaders or popular figures not being able to voice their opinion if it opposes the majority of the world leaders, our freedom of speech being taken from us. Slowly but surely, censorship. If the leader of the free world can be removed, imagine that same right of civilians. Imagine believing every time you read false information detected and propaganda, deceptive reports, and flat out lies being the only thing we see. You see, I don't agree with what everything Donald Trump says, but I don't want him censored because that leads into censorship of other people. It really started with Alex Jones and them clumping the Honorable Louis Farrakhan in with him and some others. They started that. It wasn't an outcry from the people too much. They cut them off of Instagram and they cut them off of Facebook. They started with those two and some smaller groups. But then now they have gradually advanced, right? And they say it's for the greater good of the people. How many groups have always said just before totalitarianism or authoritarianism rained down? How many different groups said it was for the greater good of the people that we took this voice away? Let's keep moving here. False flags, which gets us to what's happening on most of television. False flags, okay? So let's bring this up. False flags. As you see, it's DMX, a scene from one of DMX's movies. And it reads, false flag. Mostly all of the snit you see on TV is straight bull snit. Remember that. Mostly all of the snit you see on TV is straight bull snit. Remember that. They are playing both sides against each other. Yes. They are playing both sides against each other. Smash the share button, smash the like button. I believe that they are not letting people be notified when we're coming on, I believe. I'm looking at the numbers, and that's why I'm relying on the people who are there. Tag 5 people in because they find a way to change the algorithm so that what you do, what is supposed to be done, notified that you're on, all of a sudden you start getting less people because they said, well, what they're saying is fair and balanced, so we can't stop it that way by saying that it's propaganda. So we'll just fix and filter with the algorithm to slow their patronage down. So smash the share button, smash the like button, tag 5 people in it, let people know. Now this one comes from Michael Campbell, who owns his own television station. Black man, American black man, right? Here we are. Many of these so-called friends that you know and do business with were among the rioters at the Capitol. Capitol is spelled wrong, but most people don't know that Capitol is T-O-L when it's speaking of the U.S. Capitol. Matters not. Fighting for their agenda that doesn't include you. Let that sink in. Michael Campbell. Let's read that again. Many of these so-called friends that you know and do business with were among the rioters, the invading hordes at the Capitol, fighting for their agenda that doesn't include you. Let that sink in. Michael Campbell. Let that sink in just for a moment. Let that sink in. What do you have to say to that?
You know, I was thinking a bit humorously when we first signed in this morning. I was thinking about some of my audience that I have on my Facebook page and how we start off our broadcast with Dr. King and his synopsis about, he was preaching a little bit different than I Have a Dream speech by the time we got to the one that we air at the start of every show. And I was thinking to myself how some of my audience that may be Caucasian may be like, oh my God, I mean, what's going on? What's wrong? Dr. King, I never heard that before. What happened to I Have a Dream? What happened to the dream? What happened to the dream? So when we bring up memes like this, it's like, well, that's not all of us. But see, here is the thing, and we've talked about this before. This is not a secret. If you're not denying your privilege or the benefits that you get from the behavior of some of your people to the far right and far left, you're not shunning anything. You're not ceasing to take advantage of the benefits that you get or the favor that you get. So if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Being complacent is part of the problem. Being a spectator is part of the problem. Being a spectator is a problem no matter what side of the field you plan on. It's a problem. So when we are speaking on things having to do with the upliftment of American blacks, somebody got to do it. And this is not a disclaimer. This is not a disclaimer, nor an apology, nor would it ever be. But my point is that when we bring up these memes, they make you think. And instead of being offended, if that be you, don't be offended. Look at the truth of the words and then examine yourself. It's cause for self-examination with everybody.
Okay, so let's keep moving here. This one was put up by Tanya. Conscious rule. This is a conscious rule. I don't know if it's conscious rule 350 and 81 after 350, 80 record producer people are shady. But conscious rule. Never debate facts and history with those who haven't studied their facts and history. 213-943-3358. With that being said, 213-943-3358. Press 1 on your touch tone to let us know that you want to speak, and we will definitely have you on the line, right? Smash the share button, smash the like button. Let people know that we are on. Tag at least 5 of your friends. Say, come on in. Conscious rule. Never debate facts and history with those who haven't studied their facts and history. And what exactly do you mean by that, Tanya?
That's in anything. I mean, there are several different knowledge bases, subject matters. For all intents and purposes, now we're looking at the current goings on in our nation and our standing as American blacks in this nation. And a lot of it goes back to history before the United States ever was. And some of it, let's say, since the United States has been, and 95% built on our back. All right. But you have a lot of people who are black that don't know the only history they know is his story. The only history they know is the history that's been taught to them in the approved curriculum. Okay, the approved school curriculum. That's the only history they know. But they will be wanting to go back and forth with you because nobody wants to pride makes a person, think that you're saying they're stupid because they don't know. No, everybody has to learn something from somewhere. But the thing is to make yourself pliable, that if you don't know, that you're able to have reasonable discourse with somebody and learn something you didn't know. That's how you learn, but you never debate facts and history. Now, I say that on my page all the time. I'm not going to debate truth with you. Well, who said it's the truth? I did. And that's the only opinion I need. That's the only opinion I need. If you are talking to me, you're in my space. This is what I'm called to do. I'm called to teach truth. Now, if you don't believe that, that's fine. I mean, if you don't believe that what I'm teaching you is the truth and what we're telling you is the truth, that's fine. That's no sweat off my brow. I'm not prideful in that way. You listen, God will want to make sure you have it, so he'll bring it to you in a way that's palatable. I realize sometimes I'm not the most palatable person to everyone, so I understand that I might not be your teacher. Even Christ said, my sheep know my voice and another they will not follow. Well, if you know Christ's voice, you'll know mine. I and my Father are one. The same as he is his Father is one. We are the same. It's the same Father, the creator of the universe. So if you know him, you know me. That's what Christ told the Pharisees. Had you known my Father, you know me. I'm saying, if you know the Father in heaven, you know me. If you don't know me, you don't know him. That's a bold statement. But hey, it is the way it is. So I'm not going to debate facts with you. Debating, going back and forth, that is draining. There is no I don't enter into battles where there are no spoils. There is no win and going back and forth and holding a peeing contest with you about who knows the most. I don't care. Hey man, whatever floats your boat, that's what works for you. You gone, and we'll see each other in the by and by, hopefully.
All right, all right. So look, a little distraction because on the net, you have to have a little distraction here. Okay. So this meme that I'm getting ready to put up says he said his wife looked like Halle Berry. Halle Berry to the left, his wife looked like Halle Berry. Huh. Interesting. Just a little distraction because there's always distraction. The world could be burning around you and people will be putting memes up that are just total distraction. Now, we have to do a rebut, right? Because remember, Officer Eugene Goodman, that was the black man that appeared to be running away from the invading hordes, right? You see this man. Now, this photo is credited to the New York Times, and I'm trying to figure out how did the New York Times get the photo from the POV of the accelerationists unless they were embedded in with the accelerationists. Unless they were one of the accelerationists, right? That's just my thought on it, just looking at it. How did he get that image? So it says Officer Eugene Goodman stopped a mob of white rioters, insurgents, invading horde from entering the chambers of the United States Senate. At this perilous moment in our nation's history, he was the one person standing between democracy and the rule of tyrants. I think Officer Goodman should receive President Biden's first presidential Medal of Freedom. Photo credit, New York Times. Now again, I'm trying to figure out how the New York Times was there. This is early on. This is before he scales the first set of steps. It looks like before he picks up his baton, there's the photographer embedded in on the, following this, right? So this interesting. Was the photographer part of the mob? Right? Was the photographer part of the mob? So we have to give him credit for that because he led them away from where the senators were being held to keep them secure. Had they got to them, what would those invading marauders have done? They wouldn't have been the midnight marauders like Tribe Called Quest bringing good music. They would have been marauding like the olden days that we see in movies. Now, what does this particular meme say right here? This particular meme says, bring it smaller for you, white supremacy is terrorism. White supremacy is terrorism. Also brought to you by Black is Too Beautiful. We'll accept that. We'll take that. That's good. It's in the forest. Now, where the rubber begins to hit the road, right? Where the rubber begins to hit the road, Smash the share button, smash the like button. Tanya, I need you to look up White League, the White League 1874. The White League 1874. Now, this is an actual poster, or actual design, not a poster. Fuck them having posters. But anyway, this is 1874. 9 years after slaves were free, certain slaves in certain areas were free. It took a while for the memo to get around. But anyway, for this discussion, 9 years after, you see, within those first 9 years, American and blacks had advanced, and it was scary. It was so scary how fast the American black who was once formerly a slave had advanced. It was as if to the Caucasian, as if they had sat and just watched and learned as they were toiling on the plantation. Of course, they said that they never did any work, that they built everything. That's what the Caucasians say. The Caucasians built everything, but it seems like they sat and they learned and they picked up so fast. So the White League, which we're going to go into more detail, 1874 was created so that the freed men, black men, because black men got the vote before the black woman did. Go figure, who knows? You know, we talked about that in previous episodes. You can go back and watch those episodes. We're moving forward. To stop the freed man from voting, to intimidate, to do what's necessary to keep them from having the vote, right? So it was ex-Confederates, how black people went off to war in World War I and World War II, and they came back and they thought that they should be having the rights of citizens because they had experienced freedom over in France and the other countries that they had helped to liberate, right? And they came back to the United States, and whites who did not go to war because they were mentally inept or physically, they might have a club foot, or physically they just didn't have it. Basically, the Ku Klux Klan. I mean, we just smash the share button, smash the like button. Look, basically the Ku Klux Klan, joined with the Confederates, who were some of them were landowners, other ones were poor, and you see this dynamic today between the whites and the whites, right? The whites and the whites. You see the poor whites, and you see the whites that use being white as the destination to make them feel like they are the same, even though in the economic aspect of it, they are not the same. And for a while now, that has kept the poor whites, the whites with infirmities, at bay, but no longer. So let's talk about the White Consul, created in 1874. Read a little bit about the White Consul, created in 1874.
And that's the White League, is that correct? White League, okay. So, also known as the White Man's League, was a white paramilitary terrorist organization started in the southern United States in 1874 to intimidate freed men, as you stated, from voting and politically organizing. Its first chapter was formed in Grant Parish, Louisiana, and neighboring parishes, and was made up of the many many of the Confederate veterans who had participated in the Colfax Massacre in April 1873. Chapters were soon founded in New Orleans as other areas of the state. Members of the White League were absorbed into the state militias and the National Guard. Although sometimes linked to secret vigilante groups, the Ku Klux Klan and Knights of the White Camellia, the White League, and other paramilitary groups of the later 1870s marked a significant change. They operated openly in communities, solicited coverage from newspapers, and the men's identities were generally known. Similar paramilitary groups were chapters of the Red Shirts, started in Mississippi in 1875 and active also in North and South Carolina. They had explicit political goals to overthrow the Reconstruction government. They directed their activities toward intimidation and removal of Northern and African American Republican candidates and office holders. Made up of well armed Confederate veterans, they worked to turn Republicans out of office, disrupt the political organizing, and use force to intimidate and terrorize freed men to keep them from the polls. Backers helped finance purchases of up to date arms, Winchester rifles, Colt revolvers, and Prussian needle guns.
Okay. Militia, National Guard, backed to stay up with the latest arms, intimidation to keep people from voting, to advance because certain laws have to be passed locally. These are Dixiecrats, which are called Democrats. I'm going to be nice. Democrats. These are Democrats. The Democrat Party did not change their ways. 1874 to 1964. 90 years. Did not change their ways until Johnson, after Kennedy got his cap filled, passed the Voting Rights Act, right? The Civil Rights Act 64, Voting Rights Act 65, 1968 Fair Housing Act, where you can live where you wanted to live. We have to put all this together because what happened on the Capitol on Wednesday, the rise of Donald Trump in 2016, is not a coincidence or a happenstance. It goes back someplace. And these people who once believed that white was enough have watched their political leaders in office use them to get elected, but never get the things done that they want to see done. You know, Mike Pence, he comes from Indiana. Ku Klux Klan stronghold of the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan. Mike Pence, as a person, and those people looking at Donald Trump as their leader, Mike Pence has traded off on everything that it appeared that he believed in from the very beginning. He is considered a traitor by this white league. Because the white league still exists. Okay, the white league still exists. Now, let's move over to this meme right here. We're hitting the rubber to the road. Now, you need to smash the share button, smash the like button, because we do have a video presentation, right? We have a video presentation. Now, this person was open, is Chris Maloney or Chris Malone was open to say this. So we will push this. This is put across. Now listen, what does the meme say from Chris Maloney or Chris Malone? Congratulations to the state GA and Fat Albert at Stacey Abrams. Let's read that again. Congratulations to the state GA and Fat Albert at Stacey Abrams, because you have truly shown America the true works of cheating in an election again. Enjoy the buffet, big girl. You earned it. Hope the money was good. Still not governor. What do you think this man's mentality is coming from? Do you think that he was just born with that? Do you think he was just born with that mentality? Congratulations to State Georgia and Fat Albert Stacey Abrams, because you have truly shown America the true works of cheating in an election again. 3 exclamation points. Enjoy the buffet, big girl. You earned it. Hope the money was good. Still not governor. Now look, one cheat deserves another cheat. I would say. I mean, these Caucasians have been cheating black people from out of position for years, and now the blacks have caught on. Stacey Abrams was cheated out of. I bet you she'll be governor this time. Bet you she'll be governor this time in the heart of the Confederacy. Yes, the South, actually, people, to tell the truth, the South had already rose again. They were called Scarface, Willie D, the Ghetto Boys, Bushwick Bill, 8-Ball MJG, UGK, Pimp C, Bum B, Outkast, Big Boy and Andre 3000, any of the T.I., like the South had risen again, but it didn't rise the way they thought it would rise. It started through an economic system called hip-hop music. That's right. Hip-hop music. So the South has risen again, and the South will rise again, but in the heart of the Confederacy, there's a woman named Stacey Abrams that is evening out the score. One cheat deserves another cheat. They've been cheating for so long, it's like it's hard for them to take their own medicine. And I bet you that she'll be governor this time, because the system is set and it's nothing. The governor in GA has been real quiet. Now, remember, my sister read about the White League began in 1874. And what was it? The militias, the National Guard. See, we have a problem. See, as long as the government was talking pro-Caucasian or pro-white legislation, meaning that they find a way to knock down anything that would advance black people. Okay, you get this, you get the Civil Rights Act 64, Voter Rights Act 65, 68, you get the Fair Housing Act. But then at the same time in 65, they passed the Fair Immigration Act, which started letting in certain types of immigrants that could partake in your rights, and then they changed it from from black to minority, or from Negro to minority. So that means that all the minorities could come in and take your. It's always a way to try to put you back at the bottom, because why should we pay a group of people that we were getting the work for free?
That's right.
So this is what everything that you see revolving around in this, everything that you see revolving around in government has to do with the Negro problem, right? We know we built it, so we know we're not a problem, right? But everything that you see revolving around now, this situation, is that, you see. So remember, militia, police. Remember, the police were the patty rollers. So when you see cops are taking selfies with the terrorists, with the invading hordes that came to the Capitol. See, it wouldn't be alarming if the invading hordes were doing it to the planned indoctrinated target, which are American blacks, right? But they are doing it to an institution that was put into place through their vote, because they believed that institution believed in what they believed in, but they find as they go along, as they get poorer, as they have no teeth, as they have no welfare, because the reason why they started talking about welfare queens with Ronald Reagan is because they wanted to get the Caucasians who were on welfare off their ass. Let me state this again. We have to come to a reality. The White League and the whites that are in power saw that there's a laziness that came from having the entitlement of the title of being white. And more whites are on welfare than there were blacks, Indians, whatever other group, Asians. There are more unproductive whites that live in squalor than there are blacks that are unproductive that live in squalor. Okay? The reason why they wanted to put a face on it, so it's always to put the face of the black people, because they are not supposed to be about the advancement of black people. Sorry, Jefferson wrote about it. It's in the Constitution, 3/5 of a human being. They're not supposed to be about the advancement of black people, or a group of people who we had working for free, that all of a sudden we want them to advance. So they had to put the face on it, because there were a lot of non-productive whites that sat on their ass. Now, Hillary Clinton called them the deplorables. She was out of there, because remember, she was a Republican working on the side. I can't think of the Republican she worked for before she turned into a Democrat. Really not. They're all interchangeable, right? Look up who Hillary Clinton worked for when she was a young staffer, the Republican that Hillary Clinton worked for. I forget his name. Dump down racist.
I got something to tell you about this Chris Malone, too.
Okay. Stump down racist this guy is. You know, we have to put all the pieces together so you'll know what you're looking at. Now, so who is it? I think is it Humphrey, or I'm trying to make sure that I get the right name.
Let's see. Of course, this wouldn't be easy here.
Going to bury it. That's right, Barry Goldwater. Look up what Barry Goldwater believed real quick before you talk about the Malone the Malone guy. Look at what Barry Goldwater believed that she worked for this man before it was more advantageous to become I'm going to be nice this year, a Democrat, right? Barry Goldwater. What did Barry Goldwater believe in?
Goldwater voted in favor of the Civil Rights Act of 1957 and the 24th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, but opposed the Civil Rights Act of 1964, believing it to be an overreach by the federal government, a decision that considerably anguished him. Wait a minute. Go in here. So he was a Republican Party nominee for President of the United States. Despite his loss of 1964 presidential election in a landslide, Goldwater is the politician most often credited with having sparked the resurgence of the American conservative political movement in the 60s. He also had a substantial impact on the libertarian movement. Goldwater rejected the legacy of the New Deal and, along with conservative coalition, fought against the New Deal coalition, a member of the NAACP, and an active supporter of desegregation in Phoenix. Goldwater voted in favor of the Civil Rights Act in 57 and the 24th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, but opposed the Civil Rights Act of 64, believing it to be an overreach. In 64, Goldwater mobilized a large conservative constituency to win the hard-fought Republican presidential primaries. Although raised as an Episcopalian, Goldwater was the first candidate of ethnically Jewish heritage to be nominated for president by a major American party. His father was Jewish.
Okay, so look here. Look, you see how this is all twisting up. 57 he agreed with it. 64, the main one, he didn't agree with, and he started the resurgence of the conservative movement. And we know what conservative movement is. It plays into the South will rise again. It would also be called, one of the tactics would be Nixon's Southern strategy. 213-943-3358. 213-943-3358. Same as Ronald Reagan used Nixon's Southern strategy and said he did not need the black vote to win. This is Ronald Reagan. So you see, when you see cops are taking selfies with the terrorists, the invading hordes have gotten tired of being used. And remember, you said the media plays two sides against each other. Right? Now, this one comes from Peter Gaudry, right? He is a Hebrew Israelite, right? So for me, because usually when we have conversation and we go back, it's always about how it's always about how black people are sinful because they're not following the certain tenets, and actually Deuteronomy 26, 25 through 28 is about black people and why we are punished, why we were in bondage because we turned our face away from God, or God turned his face away from us. Always punishment. And when you trace back this particular spiritual belief, you find out that there were some white people involved, kind of like all the rest. But let's read this now. So for
Before
him,
you move with that,
what you say?
before you move with that, let me tell you about this guy, this Chris Malone. That meme was a twit, a twit. So I went to Twitter and I went and looked up at C Malone 51. Everything is in Arabic. Everything is written in Arabic. It appears to be Arabic. And so it's written in code. There's some things in English on here, but everything else, all the links are in code and written in Arabic except his name, right? So I said, okay. So I took the at C Malone 51 and just Googled that by itself and not reference to Twitter. And I came up with an interesting article. So Tennessee Chattanooga fires assistant football coach for racist tweets towards Stacey Abrams. And it is Chris Malone. He is a University of Tennessee at Chattanooga has fired assistant football coach Chris Malone after he posted a racist tweet directed at Georgia politician and voting rights organizer Stacey Abrams. The tweet was sent on the day Georgia voters elected 2 Democratic senators to Congress in a special runoff election. Also on his tweet, it says, there's something that is in English. It says, proud father. Well, no, you'll find it on Google. When you Google it, you'll see at the end of the tag, it says, proud dad, period, proud. So he is identifying himself as a proud boy. He's identifying himself as that. And this is what he did. He came out with that tweet and he was a coach. But as you see, people, the reason why I did that live time, it took me all of 3 minutes, less than 3 minutes to find all of that info on that individual. Just that quick. While we sit around not knowing stuff, just that quick, all of that information was right there at my disposal. All you have to do is know how to research stuff. But that was it for that.
Wow. Okay. So Peter Gaudra, he is a Hebrew Israelite. And usually it's about how blacks are sinful and then the reason why we're going to turn. Wait. What happened to hashtag Blue Lives Matter and hashtag All Lives Matter? Question mark. These homegrown terrorists killed a military veteran with joy on their face. Matthew 12:25. And Yahshua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. 26, chapter 26. If Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? Let that sit for a minute, because this is coming around. This is coming around because these people are getting tired of waiting for the South to rise. Everywhere around them, the hip hop artists, oh my God, they're living in mansions. I thought that I would be there one day thanks to Mitch McConnell, but Mitch McConnell is rich and Mitch has his Asian wife and everything. He is truly an example of what the Aryan believes and the type of woman that the Aryan wants to have on his arm. And I thought because he was our grand leader and he only wanted Obama to be a one-term president. Not that Obama was good for American blacks, come to find out, but they thought that everybody was on the same team. Which gets us to this meme. January 6, 2021, at our nation's capital. Sun Tzu writes, wait a minute, don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. Wait, Sun Tzu writes, an evil enemy will burn his own nation to the ground to rule over the ashes. An evil enemy will burn his own nation to the ground to rule over the ashes. So, in other words, we often say, well, we want to be put in our rightful place. And time is getting short now. And it appears that when the politicians start to openly talk about the disparities, to be kind, that the disparities that American blacks experience over any other group, that time is getting short, and it appears that the nation is coming to a reckoning that will put American blacks in their rightful place, and an evil enemy will burn his own nation to the ground to rule over the ashes. In other words, that give you nothing. What you got to say to that?
That is, if you notice, the person who made that quote, Sun Tzu, that would be from the book The Art of War. That's a good read. Everybody needs to read The Art of War to understand your enemy and understand warfare strategy. Very important, even to those of you who claim to be biblical enthusiasts. It's very important. That's one to have in your library, The Art of War. All right. But that's telling you about your enemy. In order to defeat you and make sure you don't have nothing, they will go to the end. There's nowhere that they will stop. So count it not strange, the things that we are seeing right now. And you're going to have to be equally as rambunctious for your causes. And we're going to have to be that as American black people. We're going to have to do it. And, this censoring and all of this stuff that's coming up, this it's not going to be long where we're going to be able to talk like this and tell you that you're going to have to pull out all the stops, but you're going to have to do it intelligently now. We're not going to go off half-cocked like as if people that don't have a brain. We're not going to go off half-cocked. It is strategizing and formulating. First, you got to study what you're looking at. That the art of war, it sets your mind to study your enemy. Now, the scripture says to be not ignorant of the devil's devices. So you cannot be ignorant of the devil's device. You can't be sitting around there talking about something. Listen, evil is not found in looks. Evil, they can look like they stepped out of a magazine and be a devil. It's not in eloquence of speech. It's not in any of that. It's in behavior. It's not about what you say. It's about what you do, and to study your enemy. So that means the scripture also tells us to study to be quiet. So while we're being quiet, we're studying what we should be studying. We're just watching. We just listening to people say stuff. We staying out the way. Like Dee said the other day, you stay out the way and just watch people make fools of themselves. Sit up there and study your opponent and watch your enemy. See what they do against each other. See what they do, because whatever they do against each other, they'll do against you. So an enemy, an evil enemy, you notice that says an evil enemy. That means that there are enemies that may not be evil. They're just not about what you about. But an evil enemy is somebody that's operating on the side of evil. They're assigned from the side of evil. Their father is the devil. Their father is the devil. That is who their father is. That's who they follow. That is who their inner nature is predisposed towards devilment and evil. So that's what they are. An evil enemy will burn his own to the ground. So right now, we are looking at evil enemies that want to collapse the state and the state that we built, and then they'll take their own with them. They don't care. They'll take their own with them. So we're looking at an evil enemy. You can't play around with what you're looking at. You got to deal with it where it is.
So go on ahead, because I'm getting ready to do an ad real quick. So go ahead and do what you need to do, because I'm getting ready to come up and say, ladies and gentlemen, You Found the Spot is on Spotify. That's right. You can see all of the various, hear all of the various programming on Spotify. Let me bring it up bigger, right? You can find the links all over the net. You just go to Google and type in hashtag TFR. I know, so you hashtag you found the spot, and we are right there on Spotify. Listen, the shows, the various shows, right, that we have. We have hashtag TFR Podcast Live. The one that you're watching right now that comes on from 9:30 a.m. Pacific to 12:30 p.m. Eastern is hashtag Observations TFR. We have hashtag What's the Point? That's my sister's show. Had a great grand opening. Smash the share button, smash the like button, because if you thought what we talked about just a few minutes ago before we took this break to do a shameless plug on our movement on Spotify, we're getting ready to hit the rubber to the road with the accelerationists and talking about how are the different senators and congressmen coming down with COVID. Didn't they take the experimental agent? Oh, we're going there. Let's continue. What's the point? Hashtag just movie reviews, right? Hashtag stand-up comedy breaks, right? And hashtag hip hop discuss. All these shows are up on Spotify right now. Hashtag you found the spot on Spotify. Subscribe to your playlist, right? So let's see. Ken Mitchum says, preach. He also said, this is their fight. We have to build our economic base for survival. Tracy Latrice says, exactly. All right. So that was a shameless plug. Smash the share button, smash the like button, because the skid marks are happening because we are speeding down the road. Okay, now, way back in March, my wife and I did an episode, produced the episode of hashtag TFR Podcast Live, where we talked about a Yahoo story, a Yahoo article, where they talked about white supremacist accelerationists. And this is when you Google accelerationists promise to spread, or you Google white supremacists promise to spread COVID, Yahoo News, this article comes up, right? So I'm going to show you this article right here. This article is the first header. It's been there since March. It's been there since March 21st, 2020, and people have not paid attention. Smash the share button, smash the like button, because this is where we're hitting the rubber to the road. Federal law enforcement documents reveals white supremacists discuss plans to weaponize coronavirus via saliva, spray bottle, or laced items, according to a weekly, right? Now, people in the House are coming down with the virus. People in the Senate are coming down with the virus. But my question again is, weren't they supposed to be didn't they take the experimental agent the first half, and then we're coming up on the second half, or taking the second half of the experimental agent? Didn't they have protection? Had they read this article from Yahoo News back in March, they would have known that maybe they shouldn't have walked back into the well of the House or the well of the Senate without first having the workers come in and clean down. And we mentioned this. We mentioned this right here on this show, on our first show No, not our first show back. But within that Wednesday, that Thursday, we mentioned it then, and we mentioned it on hashtag TFR Podcast Live, that maybe the Senate and the House shouldn't have went back in so fast without first getting the place clean. Because what does it say? It says white supremacists discuss plans to weaponize coronavirus via saliva, spray bottles, or laced items. And there were videos all during this time where you saw different people who prescribed to being white supremacists, Asians and Caucasians that were spitting on fruit in grocery stores, spitting on rails inside of subway cars, spraying down buttons with saliva on elevators. What is the odds that while they were there, they just were rubbing here, and somebody just puts their hand on the desk, doesn't know that it was dried saliva, and rubs their eye, touches their mouth, and guess what? The coronavirus is spreading through your body. See, I was on a show, and I went in and we were talking about, they were talking about the election, right? This is pre-election. And I started talking about the accelerationists, and this is an audience, this is a show of black people, and their audience is black, and none of them had heard of accelerationists. Accelerationism. This is part of accelerationism. To do what? To cause upheaval and the destruction and the fall of the state. What is the state? The state is the United States government. You see what they're doing now. They're getting ready to go to all 50 capitals with armed militias. Their point is to accelerate the fall of the state. Let's keep moving here. All right? Smash the share button, smash the like button, let people know that we're on. Like, people will get a little bit afraid. This topic is something that can make you fearful if you thought that Donald Trump brought racism. It's been years. It's been 1310 and racism existed then, but somehow in 2016 Donald Trump brought.
You know what?
Go ahead.
You know what? And that's not a well thought out assessment of him, because he was a businessman who was doing very well with several corporations, several properties. You understand corporate law. If you ever get in trouble and you have big corporations, you can file an automatic stay on everything that you own, open up another corporation, and then throw all of that stuff under the new corporation and shut down the old one. And it's not a big deal. Now, you may be investigated, but odds are, because that is lawful, it's within the confines of the law, you're going to be able to do it. I know somebody on a local level that filed bankruptcy 7 times under businesses, and they didn't have big business. They had small business. Now, that was a bad testimony against them. But what I'm saying is that that's how easy it is with corporate law. Now, you're accusing this man of being a racist. Do you think that racism got him the money that he got, or do you think maybe he may have been born into it? Maybe his father was a hard worker, and they may not have seen eye to eye or whatever, but they may not have been, the best of buds. But, he made his money not having nothing to do with hating black people. If you research a little bit deeper, you might find some things about him and some relationships with black people. So where are y'all getting that from? One comment coming down an escalator that the media edited for you? Oh, you don't know it was edited. because you don't research anything. You just take stuff at face value. Just think about that. Why? To what advantage would it be to him, one way or the other, to be racist?
Well, you know what? Coming down the escalator in 2016, he talked about the illegal aliens, right? I don't know how black people incorporated themselves into being illegal aliens when we are American citizens. That's one thing, right? I mean, just to be clear about that. However, his grandfather ran a brothel. He did illegal things back in the 18 whatever. His father was part of a Ku Klux Klan rally, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Donald Trump then gets money and goes over to the other side of the Hudson and starts building, and his constituency doesn't want to be around Negroes, and he really doesn't care because he's had a healthy dose of white supremacy background. So he said, hey, I'm going to do this. So look, Donald Trump does not necessarily have to hate people to be a white supremacist. And what do I mean by that? As long as you are underneath me, we're cool. But just don't get above me and then there's no problem. And this is what this whole battle is about, is to keep American blacks in a certain place, never to advance. You know, somebody tried to friend me from Ghana, and he was talking about he's some kind of shaman something or another. And so I looked at his page, and he had money stacked up. I said, nigga, go buy Ghana. I can't even call you a nigga because you're African. Go buy Ghana. Buy Ghana away from the Chinese, and then that will let me know that you got big money. Other than that, everything is bullshit. It's bullshit. Be able to buy Ghana, or go buy Nigeria and or Ethiopia and the water port away from the Chinese. And then I'll know you have money. Other than that, this showing you how to be economically stable. Get the out of here with that. So look, long as you are beneath me, it's cool. But if you come equal to me and live next to me, there is a problem. Yahoo News, second part of the report. Smash the share button, smash the like button, because the car is on the road moving. Federal law enforcement document reveals white supremacists discuss using coronavirus as a bioweapon. How come the media, Yahoo News had this, but the media has not covered? They don't want you to panic. Do you know how it is rising now? From what I've researched on racists, if you are Caucasian and you are not with them, you are against them. You're the kind of Caucasian that listens to hip hop, likes to party, likes to intermingle, likes to be multicultural. Well, some accelerationists are going to be in the audience. Hey, licking their hand, rubbing it, make sure you try. Hey, what's up, buddy? Rubbing different things, spraying. You know how they go, woo, and they spraying different smoke in the air. They're spraying their water bottles in the air. And you want to know why the amount of the virus is rising? People would be in panic. This is to collapse the state. And the media is not covering it. I am sorry, but Don Lemon, the other one whose mother was rich, what's his name? The white boy whose mother is rich.
Trevor Noah.
No, Trevor Noah wasn't rich. He's a dude from the white dude on CNN. What is his name? Anderson Cooper. The other one whose brother is the governor of New York, Cuomo. I'm sorry, but you are doing a disservice to the people. Federal law enforcement document reveals white supremacists discuss using coronavirus as bioweapon. This was written by Hunter Walker and Jan Winter, March 21st, 2020, when it was kicking off. People would be in alarm.
They buried it.
You wouldn't know who to trust. But if you're not with me, then you are against me. If I'm a Caucasian that is about white supremacy and I'm about accelerationism and collapsing the state, and you are about multiculturalism and let's everybody live, you are against me. I'm going to spread it and kill you. Washington. White supremacists discuss plans to weaponize virus via saliva, a spray bottle, or lace items, according to a weekly intelligence brief distributed by a federal law enforcement division on February 17th. So as far back as February 17th, this was released. Yahoo News did not cover it until March 21st. Let's go to the last slide of this, where it gets to what we saw at the Capitol. I mean, it's right there. It's right there in black and white. We just gave you where you can go read it, right? Again, Yahoo News. Let's look at this. Let's read what it says. The Department of Homeland Security did not respond to requests for comment. Why didn't they? How many people are actually accelerationist sympathizers within the United States government? We saw how some of the Capitol Police were towards the anarchists, accelerationists, right? According to the Federal Protective Service intelligence brief, the discussion of spreading the coronavirus occurred in a channel on the app Telegram that is devoted to the siege, quote unquote, the siege culture. The siege culture. What did we see last Wednesday at the Capitol? We saw the siege culture. Philosophies of neo-Nazi author James Mason. Look up James Mason, Tanya. Neo-Nazi author James Mason and what he believed, right? Is the siege culture philosophies of neo-Nazi author James Mason and accelerationism. These are accelerationists. We've been telling you. And accelerationists on the one side, the anarchists on the other. The anarchists want to see the fall of the state. The accelerationists want to see the fall of the state. They want to see the fall of the state for opposing reasons, but they all want to see the fall of the state. In the 19...
All right.
Okay, wait a minute. Mason wrote a series of newsletters titled Siege in the 1980s that advocated for acts of racial terrorism in order to hasten a war, racial terrorism, or acts of racial terrorism in order to hasten a war that would cause the breakdown of society, the fall of the state. So let's go through this again. We talked about this on episode 10 and episode 12 of hashtag observations TFR way back last year. We talked about it. We said it's a triangle. It's a triangle. One side are accelerationists. Why are black people on the side of accelerationists? Why were there some black people inside the Capitol, and you can see the specks outside during this siege? Why is that? On the other side, the anarchists. Why are there black people on the side of the anarchists? The third of the bottom of the triangle is the order of the state, which is the police, right? Military, all that. This is a triangle. This is a war between three factions. One is supposed to keep the state whole. That is the police force. But when it is infiltrated, like it seems, it looks like the state is on shaky legs right now. But no one is going to admit it because they want to bury their head in the sand, like that insurance commercial where they have the bird burying his head in the sand when they're playing volleyball. You know that commercial we're talking about. Then you have the anarchists and you got the accelerationists. And some of those people out there, the other day when you watch the footage, they had the black helmets, which were the accelerationists. They joined together in a way to show that they could collapse the state. The accelerationists have gone through, they sprayed down things, they did all that. The people came back, they touch it. Next thing you know, they're coming down with it. But why are they false flagging and telling you that they took something that they didn't? And this is going to expose the fact that they didn't, because if they start coming down in mass droves with this virus, because they didn't take the experimental agent, then that means, or if they took it and they come down with it, that means that, like we were surmising couple of weeks ago and all the way up to today, that they were taking placebos to make the people take it, and these anarchists and these accelerationists are tired of people who look like them lying to them about not putting them in their place, putting them in their rightful place, right? Again, according to the Federal Protective Service intelligence brief, the discussion of spreading the coronavirus occurred in a channel on the app Telegram that is devoted to the siege culture philosophies of neo-Nazi author James Mason and accelerationism. Mason wrote a series of newsletters titled Surge in the 1980s that advocated for acts of racial terrorism in order to hasten a war that would cause the breakdown of society. The acts of racism wasn't working because the blacks were dormant, so they said, God damn it, we've got to go to plan B, which was actually plan A, which is to collapse the state, which is what's the biggest representation of the state? The United States Capitol. Who is James Mason? More detail, please.
James Mason is an American neo-Nazi. Mason is the ideologue for the Atomwaffen Division, a paramilitary neo-Nazi terrorist organization, which has been identified as part of the alt-right. The Atomwaffen Division was responsible for 8 homicides between 2017 and 2019. Skipping down to political views, Mason believes that Nazis cannot take power as long as the existing U.S. government remains in place, and has advocated murder and violence to create chaos and anarchy, therefore destabilizing the government. Mason considers Timothy McVeigh and James Fields Jr. to be heroes and claims that the white race is in danger because of the Jews. He expressed that the election of Donald Trump has given him hope, commenting that in order to make America great again, you have to make it white again. Between 1978 and 1980, Mason worked with the National Socialist White Workers' Party and edited the Stormer, their newsletter. In 1980, Mason took over writing Siege, the newsletter of the NSLF. He continued publishing until 1986. In the newsletter, Mason paid tribute to Adolf Hitler, Joseph Tomasi, Charles Manson, and Savitri Devi. He also advocated random attacks and murders in order to destabilize society. In 1992, the newsletters were edited and published as a book form as Siege, the collected writings of James Mason. One more thing. He said something else here. Oh, in 73, Mason and fellow neo-Nazi Greg Hurls deployed tear gas against several black teenagers in the parking lot of a Dairy Queen. Mason was convicted of assault and sentenced to 6 months in a Cincinnati workhouse. In 1988 and 1991, police raided Mason's home in Ohio and seized pornographic photos of a 15-year-old girl. In 1992, he pled guilty to 2 counts of illegal use of minor in nudity-oriented materials, for which he was sentenced to a $500 fine and a suspended sentence. In May 94, he was arrested and charged with 2 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor, 2 counts of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Mason threatened his ex-girlfriend, who was then 16 years old, and a Latino man who she had been dating, with a firearm. Mason struck a plea bargain and was convicted on weapons charges, for which he was sentenced to 3 years of incarceration before being released in 1999. I wanted to bring out the fact that oftentimes with these people, you will also find a parallel in their sexual deviancy. You will find a lot of that with these people. There are a lot of times they are sexual deviants and something is mentally wrong with them. I don't care how high of an IQ they have. I don't care what kind of intelligence test they took and have been deemed intelligent. They still have something very twisted in their mindset. It's something very twisted, and they're often sexual deviants. And somehow my phone is recording. So what is going on here?
Somehow your phone is recording. Wait a minute now. Dun, 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 dun. Big Brother is recording. So listen, people. Look here. The phone lines are open. 702. No, 702. 213-943-3358. Can you turn it down? 213-943-3358. 213-943-3358. The phone lines are open. Do not wait until the last minute to come in. If you want to speak, press 1 on the touch tone and we will know that you want to get in on the conversation. So look, people, what we're going to the video presentation, but what are white people actually good at? Now, there's a presentation that came up from Cut that I thought was pretty good, so I kind of edited it down a little bit, and I said we're gonna, play it here, and then we're gonna give our, like what we do, we bring our commentary into it, right? What are white people actually good at, right? And what is upsetting them, to get into the psychology of Caucasian that would fall or be indoctrinated into this thought process of alt-rightism, accelerationism, even anarchism, right? Being an anarchist, an accelerationist, a racist, a neo-Nazi, a segregationist, etc., is that when they trace back what actually happened in the United States, they never really created anything but havoc and mayhem. And if you go back further in history, you will find that they never really created anything that someone else, another group of people, I'll say, created. So let's start with this. This is on Cut. My sister sent this over to me and I watched it, And I said, when will we be able to incorporate it into the show? And I said, this will be a perfect day because we need to break down not only the psyche of Caucasian whites, but Caucasian whites. See, there's a distinction between whites and Caucasian whites, right? And the breakdown of the psyche of the American black. So let's listen to this. For your discretion advised if you feel you take offense to black people discussing Caucasians. Here we go.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Oh, well, according to television, everything. A white man could fly. Even a white woman, she could be 4'1". She knew karate. She could take down 15 people.
What are white people superior at?
Man.
Oh, God.
What are white people superior at?
What exactly are white people superior at?
Smelling funky.
Santa Claus, extreme water sports,
Corn mazes.
White people are great at having fun. That's a function of white supremacy because they just don't have as many stresses as we do.
White people are very superior at their privilege and utilizing it. We do not have the privilege to do whatever and however we want to.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Not getting arrested.
You know, I was driving down the street with, down the highway with a friend of mine who was white, and he's like, I'm just want to pull over and pee. And I'm in the passenger seat. And I was like, please don't. Because a black man thinks differently. If I pull over to the side of the road and pee, a cop is going to be right behind me to punish me.
What exactly are white people superior at?
insecurity, pretending,
Fear. Being fearful of nothing.
being ignorant,
Blame.
Letting their egos control their every move.
privilege,
Feeling victimized.
playing the victim.
Congratulating themselves over shit that they're incompetent at or that should have already been done.
They're superior at being dicks.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Oppression. Gaslighting.
Lack of empathy.
Intellectualizing oppression.
Did I say oppression?
They're just creatively thinking of new ways of like always staying one step ahead of other people. We get rid of slave catchers, then let's just expand the police force. Like that stuff to me is wild.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Making us believe that we don't matter.
Believing that they're superior.
Feeling superior.
Thinking they're superior.
Thinking that they're superior.
Thinking that they are superior.
Self-delusion.
Controlling the narrative.
Believing their own press.
Marketing of white superiority.
Whether you are Republican, whether you're Democrat, whether you're conservative, like white people are really good at upholding white supremacy.
How about claiming that, you know, they are actually a whole separate race when actually white DNA comes from the black female?
So what exactly are white people superior at?
Honey, lying, stealing, and cheating.
Manipulation.
Withholding information.
Lying.
Telling lies.
What kind of lies?
The lies of history. They say that history is written by the victor, but the victor could be replaced by the colonizer.
What are white people superior at?
Conquering.
Imperialism.
Imperialism.
Colonizing.
Colonialism.
Colonization.
Colonization. They might be better at that than us and everybody else, really.
They ballsy. They rose up all over the world. And they walk into everybody's house and says, oh, this is nice. I'm going to take your shit. And they have no qualms about it.
So let's stop right there. They walk into other people's civilizations and say, this is ours. We created this. I was in film school, and in the book, in the film book, racism is in filmmaking also, because you have to learn where the original camera came from, how images were originally cast on walls, right? Well, you would get that from Egypt, but that's another story. Egypt is not in the book. I'm just going to tell you. Not even the Ptolemaic period is in the book. It is claimed. But anyway, they have this concept that's called white light, right? White light. Now, if light was really white, you wouldn't be able to see anything. It'd be a fog. You wouldn't be able to see anything. So white light is not white, but they have a concept. And then they have the concept of 18% gray. All right. And so 18% gray is a card that you use within the concept to balance what you're looking at. If you don't use white balance to balance, then you would use the 18% gray, and you would bounce either 2 steps down or 2 steps up, right? In the aperture of opening up the eye of the iris of the camera, right? Or whatever camera you're using. Just some quick language here. That's why people need to donate so that we could teach these kids this. You see, I'm rattling this off. But anyway. So I told the guy, so they got to talking about the mixture of colors. And the guy said the mixtures of colors would be a muddy brown. That's what it said in the book, a muddy brown. And so I raised my hand and said, well, actually, if you look at a prism and you shine light through a prism and the rainbow comes out the prism, but the bottom of the prism, when you shine light through it, is black, which means that all of the colors come from blackness. Of course, he didn't want to hear that because, it was a majority class filled with Caucasians, and they are teaching racism in filmmaking, in photography. And so that's why it's very important to have classes where that is not taught. Or if it's taught, the correction is taught along with it, that it is not a muddy brown, it is black, and all colors through the shiv of the prism come from out of the black base. He had nothing for that. All he could do was agree, but move on. So this is very important about how racism is taught casually. And when you're a person that is aware, I've noticed that, just my observations of being out here in Las Vegas, that there are very few American blacks out here that are aware. So they take it hook, line, and sinker, and then they do things that would be degrading. You would look at it as a person that's aware and say, that is real degrading, because they don't have a concept of what's going on because they've been fed this. It's a constant diet. Like when you're in the film classes, you get a constant diet of this, right? And if you're not willing to stand up and correct it, or you don't have the knowledge to correct it, you take it hook, line, and sinker. And this is what, I saw, and so, but I correct every time that I speak. So when people steal something, not only do they steal it, but they flip it around. They take it from out of, all colors come from out of blackness, and it says that, all colors mixed up is a muddy brown. That's in the book. Right? So again, the prism, black, all the colors of the rainbow come from out of blackness, as in biology. Certain things they cannot change the lie. They can't change it because science doesn't lie. Now, there's been people who have used science wrong and said people's brains are small and all that bullshit. But the actual science, talking about dominant and recessive genes, you can't change that because it wouldn't show itself to be true indeed in everyday life. So let's continue on. I just had to stop right there because not only do they steal it and say it's theirs, they flip it around to try to make it seem like it's advantageous and representing them more than it actually represents what it's actually representing, which is black. Let's continue.
Can take anything, baby.
What exactly are white people superior at?
They're real good at violence.
Violence. Genocide. It's like stealing people's lives just because they feel like it.
If you are white and you know this is happening and you say nothing, then you're a killer too. You are adopting a whole philosophy that says it's okay to do this. And part of that philosophy allows you to be ignorant, right? And they're like, oh, I didn't know.
What exactly are white people?
Part of the philosophy allows you to be ignorant. Well, guess what? You can't be ignorant now because the people who are the actual racists, the white supremacists that are about looking at you and saying you're not doing enough, you cannot be ignorant to it anymore. You're going to have to choose your side. And that's why black people have to pull out your friends, just like Boyce Walker said, your friends, just like Michael Campbell said, that you do business with, that you think you're cool with, were there at the siege. You probably saw them. And you have to then pull back and let this go. This civil war has to be fought. There's been a strike that was done on the U.S. Capitol. There are 50 capitals that they're going to be at statewide. State capitals they're going to be at from January 17th all the way up to the inaugural, right? This is already planned. This is happening. This is going down. Are they going to be shot down when they come with their guns, or will they allow them to stand there with their guns? This is where we're at. So that's why we should be out the way, because, somehow we keep on getting in the middle. Benjamin Banneker, he was the first one shot down during the Revolutionary War. He was minding his own business. Somehow he got shot. They just looked at him and said, he must be a deviant. Shoot him. Right? So we've been dying in every war. We need to sit this one out and let them figure this out. I say to the patriots like Eugene, who led them away from the senators and the Congress people, the Senate and the House. Kudos to you, but I feel sorry for those who are in the armed forces who use that as a way to get out the hood. I feel sorry for you because you have to fight this. I feel sorry for American blacks that have to fight this. Our hearts are with you, but we're going to sit this one out and just watch. Then we will do negotiation with those who come, and we'll separate. We go over here. We'll take the nice plush land. Y'all take that sand bowl. What they call that? The dust bowl. Take the dust bowl again, and we'll take the more fertile land. But anyway, look. You take the amber ways of grain where the bread is made, and we'll take where everything else is made. Right? But anyway, let's continue on.
Superior at
Taking what's not there. Taking shit.
Taking our ideas.
Copycatting.
Gentrification.
Appropriating things that do not belong to them.
Taking over other people's cultures and making you believe that they invented it.
Maybe they're thinking of it as repurposing. It's like recycle and repurpose.
As my grandma would say, them white folk, they'll take it if you don't copyright it.
They are very good at destruction of land, destruction of people, destruction of humanness.
What exactly are white people superior at?
White people are not superior with anything.
Nothing.
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 I don't believe that they're superior in any way, shape, or form.
Craig Baxter, that stereo, said, this is old. This is an old fight. They are fighting for the right to white power. Same old snit. Same old snit, except for they have struck against the Capitol, which means that they have moved their attack away from attacking black people, and they said that just didn't work because black people have been so dormant. They're into that hip hop shit, and so they're doing okay for themselves. And so we need to move on over to actually striking the Capitol if we want to collapse the state. Once they collapse the state is the organization, if flawed or not, mostly flawed, have the laws that protect American black people. Are you ready to fight a war? Are you ready to fight the battles necessary to move in a war as American black people. I just saw people cooking something that was high in cholesterol on the internet the other day. I said, wow, people are not really paying attention. Meanwhile, you see the Caucasian, you saw 60-year-old men out there going, heave, ho. They was acting like they were the Viking slaves down the bottom of the Viking ships rowing. Come on, like, you know, like when you see the rowing at the Ivy League, that comes from being Vikings. You have to know where this stuff comes from. Heave, ho, heave, roll. And they heave, ho, and they're busting through doors and stuff. They're 60-year-old men. They're drinking toad blood and drinking blood and bat blood and eating all kinds of things, thinking they're going to be strong. You see them, they have the extreme man or some shit, some kind of pills, and they show the guy, he's doing the push-ups, then he does the one-handed push-up, double push-up, going to the one-hand push-up. These dudes are getting ready for this accelerationism. They are doing this. We told you way back in March that this is happening. Are you prepared? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you prepared? I ain't fighting for more oppression, only for us, Ken Mitchum said. Are you ready? Are you ready? These people are doing what they're doing. They are preparing themselves. They are prepared. You saw this. You saw them do exact the siege. You see that they are infiltrated the police department. They have infiltrated they probably infiltrated the Secret Service, but they infiltrated the militia. They have infiltrated the National Guard. They have infiltrated because there are sympathizers in this. The worst thing that they could have done was cheat the election. The worst thing they could have done. Let's face it. Like a lot of people say, no, they didn't cheat the election. Biden won. Biden, number one, to be clear, Biden did not get more votes than Barack Obama did, not even the second time. Sorry. Not going to believe that. The sheer numbers of people were not out there. The enthusiasm wasn't there. He was sitting at home in his basement. And so that's not so. So you can believe it. But the way elections run, just watching elections, once the numbers get to 74%, 84%, at one point Trump had 94%, and they refused to call the election at 94%. The way election goes, you don't stop the election and then start back up in the middle of the night with more ballots, talking about we're counting the ballots. Right. Whoever gets to the percentage number is the one that's called the President of the United States. And in 4 years, if they do not do it the way that they did it this time, where it went off for days looking to see who the president is going to be, you will know that this election was fixed, because you don't do that. Whoever gets to is first come, first serve. Whoever gets to the percentage number is the one that is elected President of the United States. Been that way forever. Plenty of votes left on the floor that didn't get a chance to get counted, because whoever gets there amongst the group of votes that they start with, whoever gets there is the winner. That's the way it's always been. And then the Electoral College goes and votes by what the person was who got to being the winner, right? That's the way it's always been. But no, not this time. So that's why it was fixed. But I'm an American black. He is the president. Just like when Trump came into office, you know, I said, I'm an American black. I'm not treasonous. He's the president. Let's see what he can do. But people went off and were not true to what they should have been true to, being an American citizen, right? Trump is no different than anybody else, except for Trump was treated poorly one. And if you're treated poorly, you're going to have a little angst about that. I'm just looking at it. He's going to have a little angst. He's going to say, fuck that shit. And this shit happened because they cheated the election, because they wouldn't have been able to win.
Right.
They wouldn't have been able to win if they hadn't done it. And of course, well, anyway, that's another story for another time. But there's been enough cheating on both sides. But this time, this cheating is going to be detrimental because whites are going to have to shoot down invading horde whites in the name of the United States government of America. Are they going to be willing to do it, or will they be traitors to the oath that they took? Because they have been teasing, flirting with this Southern rise, this Nazism, that they allowed the Nazis to operate in the United States when Adolf Hitler came to power, allowed them, brought in a lot of Germans to work in the factories instead of putting black people in the factories. Would have had the factories running more efficient because we built everything. You see, this is an ongoing thing. And now that one party is speaking out the side of their neck and saying that this is true, what American blacks have been saying, this is coming now down to the boiling point, to the crucial moment. This is critical mass. And so this is, we are here. Are you prepared? What you gotta say?
You know, like you were saying, you were talking about the 60-year-old men scaling that wall. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he did, I think, 8 years in the Army, and still fancies himself to be in pretty decent shape. He said, I'm still a bad boy, and I wasn't going to be able to scale that wall like that. Those people have been training to do that. While we sit around given to appetite. You know, the scripture says a few things about cursed is the man who is given to appetite. You know why? Because your appetite causes you to spend money. So you lessen in money. The appetite you're given to taste or sight. So the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life was critical to the fall of Adam, and it's to the fall of every man. The lust of the flesh, the lust of the pride of life, and the things that you want out of life. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and pride of life are curses when you can't have them under control. But when people have a cause that they're fighting for, they go get themselves in shape. I mean, some of us, you know, I've been a big girl all my life, and I've been times where I've been smaller, and so I'm concentrating on my health now. But I'm gonna tell you something. Now, see, this is a pill you're not gonna like. If something was to happen today, right now, live time, where there's an invasion, there's not only do we have to deal with the human monsters that are on the earth right now, there's other stuff coming. There's other stuff already here. There's other stuff been here. What you gonna do? Full of ribs and full of beef and full of potato salad and full of a dressing, full of carbohydrates, full of pecan pie, full of ice cream, and full of apple pie, and full of white sugar, full of Pepsi, full of Faygo Pop. What you gonna do if you got to run somewhere? I already know there's two reasons why I'm not gonna run. Number one, I can't. That's to be honest with you. See, y'all not gonna like this. If you haven't been taking care of yourself cardiovascular and staying in the gym, you ain't gonna be able to run from nothing. So you better learn the art of war in standing and fighting and decreeing and declaring out of your mouth. You better learn it. Because if you can't run nowhere, how about, do you know where to invest money at? Do you know where to bury money at? Do you know where underground bunkers are? Do you know where stuff is? Do you know where stuff is? While you partying and being enchanted by love and hip hop and growing up hip hop, Atlanta, and all of these shows that got you enchanted, and the sugar got you. So this is what y'all do. Y'all sit in front of the TV with a plate, all these carbohydrates, chase it with a Pepsi, sugar, watching all this stuff, and you get on the phone. Girl, did you see Love and Hip Hop? Did you see Mimi? You know these people by name. Did you see Mimi? You see this, all this stuff. This just in on the news. We interrupt your regular scheduled programming for this emergency news broadcast. We are being invaded. We urge everyone to get to your homes and stay there. Oh, Lord, I got to get some groceries. That's the first thing out your mouth. Oh, I got to go get some toilet paper. So then y'all start fighting over toilet paper and chicken sandwiches. I gotta get here and do this. I got to get here and do this. They said get home right now. They said take cover right now. The militias are coming through right now. These machineries that you ain't never seen before, futuristic machines and martial law is coming through your city. Everybody indoors right now. You get caught in traffic. You got to get out of your car and run somewhere. Something is going to smash you on the way out the car. What are you going to do while you got 60-year-old men scaling walls for their cause? 60-year-old men scaling walls and going through buildings for their cause. And you sitting up here talking about, I gotta go get some groceries. I'm serious. You know, I make it sarcastic. I make it kind of humorous, but it's really not funny because all the way around, we're just like sitting ducks. Well, why you got to say that? I mean, that's just so negative. I mean, didn't you say death and life is in the power of the tongue? Yeah. Your death and your life is in the power of your tongue.
Yeah. Look, people. We brought the information to you. I said I would bring it back, you know, so that it would be clear to you, so you know. Pass this on. This has got to be one of the most important shows. Number 74, Tasty Tuesdays, a shock to the Capitol Palate. White Avengers Revenge. This has been another robust episode of #Observations TFR. We come on 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Lock us in. Let your people know that we are on because we are bringing the uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable truth at this moment. And it's just the way that it is. We are in the middle of the Civil War kicked off in March, during all the summer with all that, with the anarchists saying death to America. The accelerationists pretty much said the same thing by scaling the walls and going heave-ho. And now, we see it now with this. So, and here it is. Research is your friend. We're out.
Here's the thing about Germany, why I made a curator's pick of the Hollywood Fringe Festival. Community, heart.
Observations TFR, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday.